Hi, everyone. This is Dr. Fred Farouk, and I'd like to thank everyone who participated in the interview that I had with Jay Smith on my new book, Whatever Happened to Christianity, a tafsir for Muslim scholars and thinkers. We had quite a few questions and comments coming in from our Muslim viewers. And in fact, there were too many for me really to make appropriate and deserving comments underneath them. So what I thought I would do is make a short video that would kind of wrap up some of the questions that the Muslim viewers and commenters had. And this only is going about 2 or 3 days into since the video was posted. So if the video, if you're posting comments later, then they may not be able to be dealt with this video, but we'll keep the conversation going because that's what I want to see happen. Let me just look at my notes here, and I made notes of the predominant questions, and we will get those here. Okay, the first basic question came up was that the problem that the Muslim viewers were commenting was that I and Christians believe in three gods. This is something that we talk about in the book. Chapter 8, let me just take a minute. I'm going to get that book for you. Here's the book, Whatever Happened to Christianity, a tafsir for Muslim scholars and thinkers. And the question about Christian monotheism and the Holy Trinity is in the book, chapter 8. So if you can get a chance to read the book, you want to read through chapter 8. The important point to note is that Christians have always testified to belief in one God. And I explained this, and I'll talk about it more with the discussion of Trinitarianism and the Trinity. But Christians have never held to belief in three gods. And the Islamic view on the subject is important for Muslims to consider. First of all, the Islamic view has a bit of tension. There's a bit of tension in the Islamic view about how to view the Christian belief. The classical view, which would be championed by, for example, Al-Ghazali, who died in the year 1111 of the Common Era, he wrote a book called Faisal al-Tafriqa. And in that book, he explains who is a Muslim, who is not a Muslim, and what are the categories of non-Muslims. And his basic argument there is that the Christians and Jews believe in a prophet, they believe in holy books, respectively. So they therefore must believe in the God that sent those holy books and sent those prophets. So these are monotheists, and Christians are always given that status in Islam under the basic umbrella of Ahlul Kitab. That also qualifies Christians to be among the Dhumma. And so this is a different category of the mushrikeen, those who are polytheists. Let me give you an example. I looked this up just so you'll know. For example, the most powerful Hindu gods are Shiva, Vishnu, and Brahma. So I'll say that again, Vishnu, Shiva, and Brahma. It's a bit of a mouthful. And those are the most powerful major gods. They have goddesses as well. Now, that would be an example of outright polytheism. And even though they're different emanations of Hinduism, that what I just described there would be polytheism. Now, Christian view of God, the biblical view of God, is not the same. We believe in one God, eternally existent as Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. So one God, a pluralized unity. So just to clear that up, and if you go into chapter 8 of the book, you'll be able to know a little bit more about that question. But thank you for the question, for the commenters that made that. Another way to look at that question is tritheism is three gods, or a triumvirate is three leaders, three distinct leaders. But Christians believe in the Holy Trinity, which is one God, eternally existent as Father, Son, and Spirit. Now, Another commenter asked an associated question, a Muslim commenter, and he said that Christians went astray because, in fact, that is the question asked by the book. When, where, and how may have Christians gone astray in their beliefs about Jesus? And he said that Christians went astray when they adopted Trinitarianism. Okay, so that's something to think about. And then one of the commenters that was following up to his comment is apparently a Christian. And I want to just read this comment because this was helpful. This commenter says, no historical record or evidence exists to substantiate the basic Islamic teaching that Yeshua or Jesus had promoted the same religion as the one supposedly revealed to Muhammad. So that is an excellent statement by that commenter, who I would imagine to be a Christian based on his comment or her comment. The question here for the Muslim commenter is, do you have any evidence that the early Christians or Jesus believed in Unitarianism, or that in any way that they manifested anything other than Trinitarianism? I don't see it in the evidence I produce in the book, but you're welcome to suggest other theories. But this commenter, he says the Christians went astray when they adopted Trinitarianism. But when, in fact, did Christians hold to anything other than Trinitarianism? When did the disciples of Jesus hold to anything other than God being eternally existent as Father, Son, and Holy Spirit? Another question that came up was, and this is very common among Muslims in their thinking, they think the question basically was, God is the creator, how therefore can Jesus be God? Because, Jesus had a body was, made up of physical components. And what I mentioned in the book, again, this time in chapter 7, page number 70, and you can look it up there, I refer to John chapter 1, verse 3, where it says that actually Jesus is the creator. Now, this is fascinating, that Jesus could be the actual creator, and he actually, for his time on earth, he took on a physical body. He came down and he took on a physical body that, of course, began growing in the Virgin Mary's womb. So this is something Muslims and Christians agree, that Jesus was born without a human father, conceived in the womb of the Virgin Mary. So Jesus is the creator. And then there's several associated questions. And that basically deals with the incarnation of God in Jesus. And again, I thank the Muslim contributors or commenters for asking about that. One is this idea of, well, how could Jesus, during his time on earth, be praying to God if he's God? How can God pray to God? And it just seems very confusing. But if you understand that God is eternally existent as Father, Son, and Spirit, that there is communication within the Godhead. So we see that. In fact, even if we look at the biblical examples of Jesus praying, that would only be a smidgen, a small little subset of the time that Jesus was actually communicating to the Father, and the Father communicating to the Son, and the Spirit communicating to the Father. So there's communication within the Godhead happening at all times or at any given time. And also, Jesus coming to this earth, he did want to give an example to believers. And so this is the example he gave of prayer, for example, with the Lord's Prayer. One of the things that comes forth from the Muslim commenters is that it's difficult for Muslims, and I know this from my own personal experience, to understand both the incarnation of God in Jesus, as well as the kenosis, or the emptying of God. And we deal with that again in this book, Whatever Happened to Christianity. It's an important doctrine to know. It's mentioned in the epistle to Philippians, chapter 2, verse 7, that Jesus, being in the form of God, he emptied himself. And that Greek word for emptying is kenosis. So there is a lot to know, and actually it makes the understanding much more simple if you understand that God the Son, the eternal Son, came down in the form of Jesus Christ, and he emptied himself. And with that emptying, he took on some limitations voluntarily. So in his omnipotence, in all of his power, he emptied himself and he took on some limitations. And that explains some uh, issues in the New Testament where you'll see Jesus says he doesn't know the hour at which he's going to return. There was an emptying and there was some limitation that the Son voluntarily took on himself for his earthly ministry. So that'll clear up some of the questions. Again, I would point you to the book. The book is not a complete systematic theology or a complete comparative religious study between Islam and Christianity, but it does cover some of the points that were brought up by the commenters in the interview with Jay Smith. So I thank Jay for the opportunity to do the interview with me and to interface with him. It always is great to talk to Jay Smith. So much to learn from him. And I hope you learned something from the interview and from the book. So the book has more details. I tried to, in this video, give you just a little taste of some of the answers. Again, I apologize. There just wasn't room in a short comment section to deal with everything. So you'll be seeing a link to this video and you can follow it. God bless you, and may the Lord's peace be with you.